it looks like we got, you know what I'm saying, ourselves a pretty interesting, you know, YouTube documentary type of video, you know what I'm saying? We got ourselves most disturbing crimes that happen in the gooning community. The gooning community, that like niggas get so horny they start committing crimes or some shit. What the fuck is this? Sex crimes? You know what I mean? What the fuck is this?
These are some of the most disturbing crimes that happen in the gooning community, and as the video goes on, the people behind them will go from twisted individuals to terrifying criminals.
Oh my god, bro, seeing that shit makes my cock shrink. Like, that's nasty, bro. I wouldn't. Why? Nobody needs to see that shit, bro.
And yes, I'm serious. It's July 2024, and the Arkansas State Medical Board receives a report about a doctor allegedly engaging in inappropriate intimate conduct with both staff members and patients. Attached to the report is CCTV footage showing the doctor, identified as David Define, walking around in his private clinic with nothing on except a baseball cap. And he could be seen going down the hallway, passing several wards.
What the fuck this freak ass nigga doing?
So patients could see him, before appearing in what looks like an office area. He then starts doing things to himself and eventually ejects substances on one of the women in the room, who was working as a lab technician and also happened to be one of David's patients. The report would also accuse David of using his position of power and promise of salary increases to take advantage of both employees and patients into performing repulsive intimate acts, all within the clinic during business hours.
Yo, the hospital diddy, like the fuck is this?
After examining both the footage and its accompanying claims, the medical board would release a statement saying, "The pervasive behavior leads to concerns about an intimate compulsive disorder or paraphilia, which may in fact cross boundaries with his delivery of medical care. Simply the interaction with his office staff suggests an entanglement in his medical practice. Given these additional concerns, I would recommend that he have a more professional evaluation for safety to practice." But when David was actually interviewed by the board, he denied it, saying, "I don't know anything about that at all. I would have to see
that boy lying like shit. You know everything.
Things to have an idea what you're talking about." But this wasn't the first time he would be facing a disciplinary hearing. Back in January of 2024,
he got away with all that?
Arkansas Medical Board launched an investigation into his online activities after receiving a complaint that he was posting explicit pictures on Instagram under the username Naked Dr. Dave. David would then send a letter to the board claiming he's a well-known naturist.
Naked Dr. Dave. Bro, what? Yo, this nigga freaked out, bruh. I'm not gonna lie, bro.
Naked Dr. Dave. David would then send a letter to the board claiming he's a well-known naturist and that his content was aimed at promoting acceptance and body positivity. "We do not shame, fear, or negatively stigmatize the unclothed body, and there's
that nigga lying like shit, bruh.
No crossover whatsoever with my professionalism while practicing medicine and my naturist activities." And this defense actually seemed to change the minds of the board members, as by June, when the investigation was wrapped up, they decided to not take any actions against him and instead just added the complaint to his file. The strange part is, David actually has a long history of escaping such consequences. Back in 2011, he was investigated for alleged illegal distribution of pain medication, but ended up entering into a deferred prosecution agreement, and so the charges were actually dropped. And David simply agreed not to practice medicine in Missouri for 3 years. He would then later find himself in the spotlight again in 2017, after he was accused of allegedly describing excessive amounts of controlled substances, and this would lead to his license only getting temporarily suspended.
Oh my god, how many chances does he get, bro?
So the charges were dropped again due to a lack of evidence. But this time it was different. The story had already gone viral, which means millions of people were waiting to see what kinds of punishment David would receive for his actions. And on August 8th, 2025, he decided to have an extensive interview with an Arkansas-based news outlet called NEA Report, addressing all the allegations against him. Because, according to David, the only thing true about all the allegations was the fact that he would always walk around the clinic without clothes on, as seen in the leaked video, which he also believed was released by his ex-fiancée, Allegra Milzitz, out of spite. David claims that he and Allegra had broken up in February of 2023, only
this nigga did all that shit because
for her to return over a year later trying to get back with him. But when he refused, she decided to expose his horrible behavior behind the scenes. Now, while the report was filed anonymously, David claims he was able to decode where it came from. But if David's intention with this interview was to switch to
damn, yo, your wife came back and actually tried to give you a chance and then you fucked it up, bro. Like, you know what I mean? Unless he's just not attracted to his wife. Maybe it's just that.
Public's perception in his favor or sway the decision of the medical board, and unfortunately didn't work, as he would end up receiving a much harder punishment than in the previous cases. In October of 2024, the Arkansas State Medical Board issued an emergency order of suspension, charging him with violations of the Medical Practices Act and board regulations, and accusing him of having inappropriate relations with his patients and staff members. The board described David as an ongoing danger to the public in his continued practice of medicine, and the case would finally come to its conclusion in August of 2025.
Nice. That was literally like a few months ago.
The court voted unanimously to revoke David's medical license for 5 years, which means he'll
5 years?
be free to practice again by 2030. But what comes next is even more disturbing, since the suspect almost got away with it in public.
Hold on, it's not going to lick itself. Like, look at the shirt that he's fucking wearing. Is this the guy that walked up to a girl and like busted a nut on her?
Court documents show this mother and daughter were victimized by the suspect, and they say this latest incident has them reliving their trauma.
Back in July of 2024, a bizarre video suddenly appeared on social media, showing a woman chasing a strange man out of a Dollar Tree store located in Southwest Philly. The video, which was recorded about a month earlier, shows
I've seen this video. This was diabolical.
a woman who will call
who helped? Was it Meek Mill? Didn't Meek Mill come out and like helped with fighting him and everything, bro?
Grace crying and accusing a man of releasing fluids on her leg.
Oh my, no, bro, don't show me.
The same day the video was posted online, the police would release CCTV images showing the man's face clearly and asking for the public's help.
Why would you do this though? And why is he wearing that shirt?
In identifying him. And according to the statement,
store employees have reported that the man is known to frequent the Snyder Plaza and the nearby Interstate 95 underpass, where he may park a vehicle. The suspect is described as a black male, aged 25 to 30, with a dark complexion, standing 6 feet tall, of stocky build, with a short receding hairline, a full beard, and wearing black t-shirt, gray shorts, and black sneakers.
This case would also gain the attention of Philly rapper Meek
Mill,
who decided to drop a bounty on the subject.
Let's play manhunt with him today in Philly, some community service. I got 2 bands for...
That's fucking disgusting though. Like walking up to like a random girl and like do that shit to her is insane, bro.
Location?
That's
Meek Mill
insane.
posted on his Twitter account. With both the authorities and the internet looking for him, it didn't actually take long before his identity was revealed as 35-year-old Gary Miles. But before anyone could find him, Gary would actually turn himself in to the police that evening. And his long list of charges included indecent attack, indecent exposure, open lewdness, and harassment. And the Philadelphia Police Department would also release a statement thanking the community for their assistance in locating Gary, while
that woman is gonna be so traumatized for the rest of her life, bro.
promising
like,
to take the case as seriously as possible. But while it appeared that the story had reached a conclusion, there was still one question left unanswered. The incident happened in June, so why didn't the police do anything about it until Grace posted the video about a month later?
But what would make someone want to do some shit like this though? Like, I don't get that. Like, what comes to your mind and you're like, oh damn, I want to bust a nut on this fucking girl. Like, what? Like, what? Like,
Grace's mother also raised this point when she spoke to news reporters about the incident, emphasizing that she wasn't pleased with how the Philadelphia police handled their investigation.
They didn't take this case seriously in the beginning. They didn't take the case seriously until my daughter posted her video. It's traumatizing for her. It's hard for everyone in my house.
But this wasn't the first time the police would fumble a case involving Gary. As it turns out, he's actually a repeat offender. Days after his arrest, a woman named...
That's why he kept on getting worse, because, you know what I mean? Because he was allowed to. Why is this shit on Fox News, bro?
Serena Daniels and her daughter, Deidre Coleman, would come out to recount their own disturbing encounter with Gary from over a decade ago, detailing how he broke into their house several times and exposed himself to Serena, who was pregnant at the time.
The name popped out, and then when I looked at the mugshot, I was like, that's him.
Apparently, Gary had taken a plea deal at the time, saving him from proper prison time and allowing him to keep terrorizing other women. And considering how long ago this particular incident happened, it appears Gary never stopped being a creep. According to court documents, he's also been arrested several times after that, including a 2011 incident in Montgomery and Clinton counties in Pennsylvania, with similar charges of indecent exposure, open lewdness, and disorderly conduct. In many of these cases, Gary received the minimum punishment, probation, psychological evaluation, and a 1-year sentence. Gary's trial is still pending. What comes next, however, is another public offense that turned very disturbing.
It was hard for them to watch.
Ow, my fucking ear.
Sit on the side, he'd watch these women and pull up next to them before going underneath their cars. One of these women telling police she's been having nightmares about the incident.
Wow.
On August 29, 2024,
how many cases are on this nigga?
A woman simply identified as Chanel drove into the Superstar Wash in Gilbert, Arizona, while taking her son to school. As soon as she was vacuuming her vehicle, a strange man, later identified as 28-year-old Jesse Michael Johnson,
oh my fucking
would
god,
pull into the parking spot right next to Chanel, get out of his vehicle, and sneak under her car to peek at her feet. This would go on for several minutes before Jesse would return to his car.
Oh my god, bro.
And pretend to be cleaning his tires.
Yo.
And they both eventually leave. But a couple of hours later, Jesse would return to the car wash and do the exact same thing to another woman, while she was also vacuuming her car before leaving again and returning a third time the same.
I'm gonna go like that woman back here. Hold on, who is that?
And they both eventually leave. But a couple of hours later, Jesse would return to the car wash and do the exact same thing to another woman, while she was also vacuuming.
Damn.
vacuuming her car.
Is that the woman he was like?
Before leaving again and returning a third time the same day with the same mission. Each of these women had one thing in common.
Nah, this is actually sick as fuck though. Like, what the fuck? Like, I don't know, bruh. Like, what would like? I don't know. I think I think some niggas are just desperate, bro.
They
like,
were all wearing flip-flops, leaving their feet exposed. At this point, the staff at the car wash started to notice Jesse's pattern of behavior. And after checking the CCTV footage, they realized they had to file a report with the police concerning the creepy incident. And so about a month later, on September 24th, Jesse was actually arrested and charged with 3 counts of voyeurism and 3 counts of disorderly conduct. But the disturbing part of the story was that this wasn't Jesse's first offense, as it was later revealed that he'd been arrested multiple times in Nebraska back in 2016 for hiding under women's cars and grabbing their ankles without their consent. At the time, he was only charged with breaching the—
He was grabbing fucking ankles? What the fuck? What?
peace and sentenced to 2 years of probation in addition to—
Why is he grabbing niggas' feet from under the car?
And a mandatory psychological evaluation. But he didn't seem to learn his lesson. During his interrogation, Jesse would reveal that he was intimately attracted to women's feet and he couldn't control his desires, which is why he would sneak under their car to watch them without their consent. While talking to the press after Jesse was arrested, Chanel revealed that the incident deeply affected her, saying she felt taken advantage of and had been having nightmares ever since.
Going to the community and doing this to women is absolutely disgusting, and I don't think he realizes what it's doing to us as the victims. I couldn't believe that I was in that situation. I just had a baby 2 weeks prior to this. I have 2 other. It was a very scary situation, especially with my little boy with me when it happened.
The Maricopa County Attorney's Office would eventually refer Jesse's case to prosecutors for misdemeanor prosecution, and his bond was set at $10,000, and a court date was issued. However, the rest of his trial was held behind closed doors, and no information was revealed to the public. But the next case is even more unsettling because it involves a government official committing a crime in plain sight.
A member of the Brazilian parliament was filmed in parliament during a full session. In other words,
a politician. I mean, technically our president's a gooner if you think about it. You know what I'm saying? I feel like Donald Trump a gooner, bro. I'm not gonna lie. I feel like he be gooning
in public,
old ass,
and working for the nation. He was filmed watching.
It's May 2015. João Rodrigues, a Brazilian politician representing the state of Santa Catarina under the Social Democratic Party, is doom scrolling on his phone during a plenary session.
Oh man, you're a social democrat, bro, and you got this shit going on right there, bro. Like, come on, bro.
Of the House of Representatives, unaware that the press was about to expose his deepest, darkest secrets. While the rest of the Chamber of Deputies debate on electoral reform, João was busy flicking through pictures and videos of scantily dressed women and very obscene content on his phone. And although he actually tried to hide the phone under the desk, one of the journalists present at the meeting noticed what he was doing and started recording. At some point in the video, João could even be seen showing the images to his colleagues as they crowded around him, while some even peeked over his shoulder to catch a glance of the explosion.
Nah, bro, they on that Epstein shit.
That's
how Donald Trump be moving, bro.
This video would end up going viral online, putting João at the center of a massive controversy. But in his defense, João claimed that he was just fiddling with his phone when the pictures were sent to one of the WhatsApp groups he was in, and that he immediately deleted the pictures and blocked the person who sent them after finding out that they were explicit in nature.
I have over 70 groups with governors
and
bar buddies. It's hard to control what I receive in them. I asked them to stop them because the group isn't just made up of men. We have women and families there.
And when questioned about why he was on his phone,
hey, it's not, hey, bro, I promise y'all it's not me. It was the other politicians. They were sending me videos. I don't know why they were sending me videos of scandalous girls. You know what I mean? I didn't know why. But it wasn't me. They were sending me the videos. You know what I'm saying? I definitely wasn't gooning to that shit.
During official meetings, João defended himself by pointing out the fact that almost all the other 200 deputies were also on their phones at the time, especially since nothing serious was going on. And his defense actually seemed to work, since he never faced any sort of disciplinary sanctions from the Chamber's ethics committee, although it would become a point of criticism by his colleagues every time he engaged in a debate regarding morality. Unlike him though, this next offender didn't just get—
Nah, bro, they gonna use that against him all the time, bro. That's crazy, bro. Hey, he like, you know what I'm saying? If it's just like porn, like on the internet, and he just doing that shit, okay, that's cool. You know what I mean? Right. I mean, you could want. I mean, it's his phone. He can, if he wants to watch that, he can watch that, bro.
Caught on the job. He almost caused a mass.
But I'm not gonna lie, watching that during, you know what I'm saying, during your job, like, you know, in the parliament is insane. The government is fucking insane.
Police officer is off the job
mass murder
after he crashed his patrol car while watching, let's just say, things he definitely should not have been watching at that time.
Huh? Goon or
Lake County
cop?
Police Deputy Tristan McComer's job description was simple. He was a deputy at the Lake County Sheriff's Office, and so he had to protect the community, fight for justice, and follow the very laws he swore to defend. But in late 2024, Tristan would make a choice that shattered that promise, completely ruined his career, and nearly cost several innocent people their lives. It begins on November 6th. Tristan is behind the wheel of his patrol car, driving southbound on County Road 435 in Sorrento.
I heard about this story. I already seen this story.
In front of them is a woman driving a Toyota, and just ahead of them in the opposite lane, a school bus comes to a stop. Its warning lights flashing, signaling that are either boarding or getting off. The Toyota driver slams on the brakes to give the school bus the right way, but Tristan is actually busy scrolling through his phone instead of paying attention to the road, and just seconds later he would plow straight into the Toyota, rear-ending the driver and almost causing a serious accident. The impact was strong enough to deploy the steering wheel airbag in the patrol vehicle. Both Tristan and the victim escaped without any injuries. But as soon as Tristan realized what just happened, he gets down from the patrol car, walks over to the woman, and starts apologizing. Other officers soon arrive at the scene.
I mean, hey, at least he apologized, you know what I'm saying? But like, still, bro, you shouldn't have been gooning on your phone.
And questioning Tristan about the situation. But instead of taking responsibility for the crash, Tristan would actually push the blame on the lady he
Oh, wow. Oh, wait, I thought he he didn't apologize. Never mind.
He claimed that he didn't realize she'd stopped.
I'm stupid.
And insisted that his brakes had suddenly locked up, leaving him no time or space to swerve out the way. He even went a step further, telling officers that the patrol car's speedometer had recently been recalibrated and that the anti-lock braking system light had been on ever since. All the while, Tristan knew the truth. The accident was entirely his fault, but he was willing to say anything to avoid punishment. For a while, everyone simply accepted Tristan's version of the story, but that all changed when the Lake County Sheriff's Office launched a deeper investigation into what really happened that day. And once they examined Tristan's body cam footage, one detail would emerge, flipping the case completely upside down. It turns out Tristan had been actually watching explicit content on his phone at least 15 seconds before the crash, and when confronted with the footage, Tristan simply
that boy saw some titties. He was staring at. That nigga got mesmerized.
Pushed back. He insisted
mesmerized.
Claiming he just finished a phone call with another deputy and was merely scrolling through messages in a group chat.
He went to a different plane of his existence.
However, when the detectives investigating the case examined the group chat, they found no pictures or videos posted on the day of the crash. And the very next day, Tristan was called in for a formal interview. And this time, with the lies falling apart around him, he finally came clean, admitting that he was looking at inappropriate photos and explicit material on his phone while driving. By the time the investigation was concluded, Tristan would be charged with 3 violations: departure from the truth in giving testimony or in connection with any official duties, misusing electronic handheld devices while in the line of duty, and failure to use a seatbelt. With his credibility destroyed and his future in law enforcement completely shattered, Tristan quietly resigned, and to this day it remains unclear whether he faced any further consequences for his conduct.
I think he just quit. I mean, at that point.
Next, however, is a case so bizarre that even the cops
what the fuck is this?
were creeped out.
Literally just touching himself to us, making eye contact with us. Everyone in the store sees it.
Miami
Starbucks
Beach, Florida,
Gooner.
March 11, 2022. Alyssa DeMaria is out getting coffee at the Starbucks, located on Collins Avenue and 29th Street. It's 9:30 a.m. on a Friday, and the cafe is packed. But what Alyssa doesn't know is that she's about to witness one of the most shocking things to ever happen inside a Starbucks. Just moments later, a 27-year-old homeless man identified as Blake Rain would walk into the coffee shop, head straight to the American flag in the corner,
Pedro Pascal,
pull down his pants, and start doing what he did in front of everyone.
It's disgusting.
And she pulls out the phone to record, yelling for him to stop. But Blake simply doesn't care. He doesn't even act like she's there. And what's even more disturbing is that Alyssa seems to be the only one bothered by what Blake is doing. Everyone else could be seen going about their business. And you could even hear the baristas calling out names of customers to come pick up their orders. Despite getting filmed.
Them niggas too busy to be doing. I think everybody knows this, but they're too scared to do something about it, so they're just continuing to go about their day.
And yelled at. Blake would continue
but that's crazy
doing what
though.
he did for the next 10 minutes before someone would eventually call 911.
They should have been did that though. That's insane though. I would have slapped the fuck out that nigga.
But as soon as the cops arrived, Blake would take off running. The officers ordered him to stop, but he wouldn't listen. So they actually shot him with a dart-firing stun gun, hoping
there's something wrong with this guy,
to
man.
slow him down. This didn't work, however, as Blake would simply pull out the darts out of his body and
oh my god, he's not human. He's not human.
Again, it would eventually take
he's not human.
shots with the dart to fully knock him out, so the cops could catch up. And when they did,
damn,
they deliver a couple of blows and kicks to his lower back. The rest was so violent that one of the officers even walked away with a small injury. But as for Blake, he would be transported to the Mount Sinai Medical Center for treatment before he was then moved to a correctional center and charged with lewd behavior, disorderly conduct in an establishment, and resisting an officer without violence. His bond was set at $700. Starbucks would also later release a statement addressing the situation, saying,
"Once alerted to the customer's behavior, our partners took action and local authorities were immediately called. We want our stores to be a welcoming environment, and our partners are empowered to address any behavior that doesn't meet our third place policy."
This next one, however, involves an individual who took this to a dangerous level nobody ever thought possible.
Charged for indecent exposure. Video shows chase. Wow.
Prosecutors say 32-year-old Calvin Jones told police he touches himself in public because he likes the thrill of being caught.
Calvin Jones was an adult
OnlyFans fugitive
content creator who became known for constantly recording his content in public, doing stuff to himself inappropriately where people could actually see him. But in 2023, that behavior caught up to him. He was arrested and charged with public indecency. His bond was set at $3,000, which was posted so he could remain free while the trial moved forward. But the most disturbing part of this case happened on September 4th, 2024, when Calvin would escalate his immoral conduct to a criminal charge. It begins with a 911 call.
How does it get worse?
From a business near 19th and Wells in Milwaukee, near the Marquette University campus, after Calvin was seen on surveillance video exposing himself and doing stuff to himself outside the business. But the moment he actually saw an officer coming, Calvin got into his vehicle and waited for the squad car to pull up behind him. And just as the officer activates his lights and siren, Calvin would turn on his car and
that boy, you seen that? Hold on. You seen that? Hold on.
The squad car to pull up behind him. And just as the officer activates
you see his lights? You see his lights? He about to shit and drive hella quick. Watch this. Look at the lights in the back. Look at the lights. Look at the lights in the fucking back.
Siren, Calvin would
see he ready to go
on his car and accelerate towards West Wisconsin Avenue. It was clear that Calvin was looking for a chase, and for a brief moment he got exactly what he wanted, with Calvin driving at around 70 miles per hour, weaving through the neighborhood like a maniac. And it wouldn't take long before the officer actually lost sight of him, bringing the chase to an end. But that was just the beginning. October 2nd, 2024, officers of the Milwaukee Police Department spot Calvin, who had now been declared a fugitive, driving his white 2007 vehicle across. They try to stop him, but he again flees, driving recklessly through several streets. But when one of the officers sees that the chase could get dangerous, he decides to terminate the pursuit before somebody gets hurt. And while conducting surveillance on Calvin later that evening, officers spot his vehicle again, traveling south on North 22nd Street, before stopping in front of his house. And they try to arrest him again, but he actually manages to escape. Fast forward to December 24th, and the Milwaukee police would respond to a distress call from
doing this shit on fucking Christmas Eve.
An address near 20th
Christmas Eve.
The woman on the other end informs the officer about a suspicious male in a white sedan who'd walked past her residence with nothing underneath. But before the officers could arrive at the scene, Calvin once again disappeared. His clock would eventually run out on January 17th, when the police finally arrested him during a traffic stop. And when asked about the previous incidents, Calvin revealed that he rides around and stops at certain places to expose himself, because they're usually people walking around, and that he enjoys the thrill of getting caught by people while recording his adult content. At the end of the day, Calvin was shot.
What the fuck? This nigga's freaked out, bro. Bro, who's subscribed to that nigga? We need a list of who fucking is subscribed to that person so we can send him to jail too.
With 2 counts of operating a motor vehicle to flee or in an attempt to elude an officer, and 2 counts of lewd and lascivious behavior. A criminal complaint was later filed against him on January 24th, but it's not clear whether he's been sentenced or not. However, this next case involves an offender whose criminal history was so terrible he had to be removed from society altogether.
Prompted by an incident last year at a Plano apartment complex where he worked. Authorities say they found 47 other invasive videos on his phone.
It's August 24th, 2022. Officers from the Plano Police Department, Texas, are responding to an emergency call from an apartment complex after a woman caught her maintenance technician filming her without consent. For the sake of the story, we'll call her Jennifer. And the man whose identity was later revealed was 45-year-old Darius Bradford, and he'd been in the home earlier that day to fix some damage. And according to court documents, Darian was a maintenance worker for the apartment complex in which he and Jennifer lived. His duties as a maintenance worker included the repair of air conditioning units. On multiple occasions, he entered Jennifer's apartment in response to requests for repairs to her air conditioning unit. But then Jennifer would later notice that nearly every time he visited to make repairs, Darius would leave his tool bag in the bathroom, explaining that the air conditioning motor was located there. She also noticed that he would leave his phone in the tool bag, which seemed
weird because generally one would keep your phone close.
On one such visit, Darius asked to borrow Jennifer's key because he didn't have a copy, and she asked him to text her when
the fact that he has to keep coming back to fix the AC is already suspect enough.
He completed the repair, so she
like
could
why
does
he have to keep coming back?
Darius sent her text messages asking her if she was happily married and asking how he could
find a woman like you, beautiful and sweet.
Jennifer wouldn't respond to the texts, but Darius kept being persistent. And so on the day everything happened, on August 24th, 2022, Darius once again arrived at the apartment in response to another request to repair the air conditioning unit. Jennifer,
he seems to have to fix that air conditioner all the time, doesn't he?
Informed Darius that she needed to take a shower and get ready for work. And as he had done on previous occasions, Darius asked Jennifer if he could leave his tool bag in her bathroom. And when she went to the bathroom, Jennifer noticed a box in the tool bag, prompting her to examine the contents. And she quickly discovered that his phone was inside the box, believing it to be recording her. Scared that Darius was still in the house with her, Jennifer would pack the toolbox into a shopping bag and discreetly leave the apartment. And she would drive to the apartment management office to make a report. And after calming her down, the manager would pick up the phone, only to find out that Darius had already been remotely erasing the content on it. But fortunately, Darius wasn't fast enough, as the manager would eventually find actual videos of him setting up the camera in Jennifer's bathroom and immediately notify the Plano Police Department. Upon their arrival, the cops would also find 47 videos of other victims. Darius had discreetly recorded inside various stores and apartment complexes in the community, including one that showed the 15-year-old daughter of his ex-girlfriend.
Oh, damn.
Darius' browsing history also revealed that he'd been conducting online searches for spy cameras. And after placing him under arrest,
oh my fucking god,
detectives found and seized additional phones and cameras that he
the nigga trying to fucking rig the whole place up with cameras, man.
Without their consent. And in addition to all of that, Darius also had a large ring of keys on it, several of which were labeled as belonging to the apartment complex. And according to the property manager, he had no permission to have those keys in his possession. Like many of the other offenders, Darius was also a repeat offender. As a matter of fact, the first time he would be arrested for a similar offense was in 2008, when he spent 30 days in a Dallas County jail after recording a woman without her consent at a Ross department store. Then in 2010, Darius would be arrested.
How do you get caught doing that though? Fucking dumbass nigga.
Again for filming another woman at the
like how do you get caught recording someone coming out of a fucking grocery store? I mean, I guess I don't know, man. I don't know. Like I don't know, bro. Like, I don't know, bro. I feel like niggas get so desperate they start slipping up because they don't.
Galleria Mall, although he was never prosecuted. But he wasn't going to get away with it this time. Following his arrest, Darius was charged with burglary, enhanced to a first-degree felon, which could potentially earn him a sentence of between 5 to 99 years in prison, or even a life sentence. Because according to the cops,
the burglary is committed with the intent to commit a felony other than theft.
Darius would eventually plead guilty to the burglary with the intent of secretly filming someone in June 2023. And after careful consideration, the jury decided to recommend the maximum penalty.
This perpetrator infringed on the privacy of 23 different women.
Oh my gosh, bro. 23 different women, probably all in the same apartment complex.
47 different occasions by secretly recording upskirt and undressing videos. He used his job to gain access and his manipulative personality to gain their trust, definitely earning him a life sentence.
Later in 2024, Darius
they gave that nigga a life
to appeal the sentence, claiming that the charges were wrong because they provided 2 separate paragraphs for the jury to choose from in assessing his punishment, instead of 1 paragraph which increased the risk that the jury would only consider life confinement instead of the full range of punishment. He also argued that by placing the life option first, the charges unfairly drew the jury's attention to it. However, the record is clear. The trial court instructed the jury that it must decide whether to sentence appel. However, the appeal was overturned, and Darius soon found himself back behind bars, forced to finish his life sentence. This next one though is even more disturbing.
Wow, bruh. That's insane.
Since the offender would end up leaving this earth altogether.
Sir, you need to leave. Unacceptable.
Oh, this nigga, he you know what I'm saying? He you know what I'm saying, himself, bro. After he got caught. This guy had a whole family, bro.
Unacceptable.
It's January 7th, 2025, and 27-year-old Nautica Malone pulls into a Bikini Beans coffee drive-thru in Tempe, Arizona, a shop known for its bikini-clad baristas. And this time, Nautica isn't wearing pants.
Oh my god, oh my god, oh my god.
And judging by the grin on his face, it's pretty clear he's after something else entirely. But
like, why are you just like... Oh my gosh, bro. I mean, RIP to dude, bruh, but like, why though?
He doesn't realize is that the employee talking to him had been filming the whole thing, and that single video was about to destroy his life forever. Nautica manages to escape before the cops are called, but he couldn't run away from the consequences of his actions. The following day, the video appears in a local Facebook group called Arizona Moms Helping Other Moms, with the caption,
Alright y'all, be careful. This happened while my sister was at work. She works at Bikini Bean in Tempe. This man had himself exposed as if it was okay. Like absolutely disgusting. If you see him, stay away.
It was from this group
that's some weird shit,
this clip
bro.
would then spread across several social media platforms.
That boy horny as fuck, bro. Too horny, bro.
Going mega viral and exposing Nautica as a creepy individual. Since his face was clearly shown in the video, it didn't take long for the internet to dig out his personal information, including the fact that Nautica was actually married and had a... But while Nautica was getting criticized and ridiculed online, the original poster of the video would come out with a disturbing update, revealing a plot twist that no one saw coming.
Damn, bro. Yeah. Yeah, he ended himself.
So
bro.
I had posted this just yesterday. We were able to get the name of the
What
guy who
the
did this. I had spoken
fuck?
with his wife to let her know the situation and that the video was going viral, and she informed me he unalived himself.
According to the police report, just 24 hours after the video was online, Nautica decided that he would leave this earth with the shame of what he'd done. So he took his car to an empty parking lot, called his brother to say goodbye, and left this realm. He also left a note for his wife saying,
I apologize. I love you, Queen. I made a mistake and I don't think I'll be able to face you and the babies. I don't know why I drove through like that. My mental has been messed up. I am not a monster. Please forgive me. I apologize and I love you forever. If I'm in a critical condition, please pull the plug.
Bro, you didn't have to, you know what I'm saying? You know what I mean, bro? Like,
to all my family and friends, I love you and I'm sorry. I love my
damn,
family.
bruh.
The police would then later release the body cam footage showing Nautica's car in the parking lot with him inside. And while everybody agreed that Nautica's death was kind of his own doing, his mom saw the situation a little differently. In a statement posted on Facebook, she would accuse the barista who recorded the video of being responsible for his son's ultimate passing, promising to fight for justice for Nautica. However, what comes next is even more unsettling, since it involved young—
I don't think her recording was like, maybe he's done this multiple times. You know what I mean? Like, if he's done this like multiple times, like I get that. But if she's just recording, that's different.
people.
Please, don't do this to me. Are you serious?
Oh, wow.
It's July 1st, 2021, and a woman named Sarah Moss is just relaxing on the beach with her family near the 2nd Street crossover in Georgia when she suddenly notices something strange in the distance. Sitting just a few feet away from Grace was another woman who appeared to be using certain toys in a not so appropriate manner. And just as Sarah brings out her phone to record, the woman in the distance would also start to make noises. And about 5 minutes later, she would pack up her belongings and leave the area. Grace immediately calls the police to report the incident, and it didn't take long before the 3 officers arrived at the scene, locating the woman in question sitting at a nearby restaurant, wearing a green one-piece suit and carrying a backpack. And the conversation that followed is—
and she got that Jesus piece. Damn, bro.
It's nothing short of disturbing. After identifying her as 34-year-old Christina Revels-Glick, the police start asking questions about the incident, and at first she seems genuinely confused about what was going on.
What were you doing on the beach? Like, prior to coming here? Prior to coming here? Were you at the beach at some point in time?
Just say no. Just say no, I wasn't there.
Okay, I don't understand.
The officer then informs her that she was actually reported by witnesses who saw her doing stuff on the public beach. And it's
oh, yo, you're cooked.
At this point that she starts to get defensive.
So apparently you're on the beach.
Who saw that?
I mean, a couple people.
No, they didn't. That's not true.
Seeing how the situation was escalating, Christina becomes visibly embarrassed and tries to play it off as a simple mistake, being
that's
blown out
hella
of proportion
embarrassing.
before finally admitting that she did what she did on the beach, just not in the way she was being accused of.
It's my vibrator, but I just put it in my— I was sitting on the beach, and I just—
Yeah, but that's still like, that's still crazy though. Like, you could have brought like a something to like cover your surroundings or something, like a, I don't know, bro, like a tent or some shit. I mean, I don't think you could bring a tent on the fucking beach, but you know what I mean? You get what I mean?
Just okay. Do I get a ticket?
In her defense, Christina claims that the witness couldn't have possibly seen her since she was there for only 20 seconds. She also added that the reason she decided to do that in public was because she was stressed from all the drama going on in her life. But that wouldn't stop her from getting arrested and charged with indecent exposure and disorderly conduct. As she was being placed in handcuffs, Christina would break down crying, pleading with the officers before being forced to make the walk of shame out of the restaurant. She was eventually released on bail, but while awaiting trial, Christina's story would take a much darker turn. In November of 2024, 2 years after the incident, the body cam footage of Christina's arrest would suddenly appear on the internet. On one side, there were people who outright condemned her actions, but on the flip side, a lot of people also argued that the case was taken too far, since it was just a misdemeanor. But while the debate was going on, more information started coming out about the aftermath of the arrest.
I mean, I don't think she needs to go to jail for this, but like, she should at least get like fined. I think she should just get fined, bro. Don't do that shit again. Like, you know what I mean? Like, but at the same time, it's like, I don't know, bro. I don't know. She should probably get fined though, for sure though. She gotta get fined for that. You know what I mean? Like,
turns out that Christina actually left this earth on her own on the 31st of March 2022 after slowly spiraling into depression. However, according to her family, her death didn't have anything to do with the arrest or the consequences that follows. In an interview with Daily Mail, Christina's family revealed that she actually had a good life, drove a BMW, and lived in a nice house before her life went downhill. She also had 2 sons, a 19-year-old from one relationship and a 15-year-old from a marriage that ended in divorce in 2015. But then she started getting into trouble, went to prison in Florida, came back, and fell in with the wrong crowd. And this is when her struggle with illicit substances and alcohol started, before she eventually cut off everyone she loved. Not surprisingly, Christina also had multiple encounters with the law, even before the 2021 arrest. One was in 2018, when she was declared a fugitive from justice in Georgia, and Florida after she was accused of stealing a car. She would also also get arrested on more than one occasion.
Damn, she got history,
That same
bro.
year, in addition to a citation for public drunkenness. Other court records in Georgia also reveal several civil filings against her, including charges of unpaid rent, damage to property, and stolen property. Unfortunately, her story would end in tragedy, not just because the nature of her death, but the circumstances surrounding it. Because while Christina,
bro, that is so unfortunate, bro. Like,
passed away in March 2022, her remains weren't actually discovered until about 30 days later, when her landlady visited her apartment in Georgia to demand the rent for the past month. After forcing the door open, she found Christina's body in a pool of blood and immediately called the police. The report by the police department reveals that a pistol was found lying on the master bedroom bed, and directly above the bed was a hole in the roof. The officers also found Christina's body on the opposite side of the hallway, but strangely there was a large amount.
How did nobody hear that shit? Nobody heard the gunshot?
Of blood on the living room floor, along with 2 separate blood trails leading in both directions in the hallway. Blood was also observed in a guest bedroom, on a chair, desk, and a computer, which means that Christina didn't pass away immediately, but unfortunately was probably crawling around the house trying to get help. She was eventually transported back to her hometown, where she was cremated. This next case, however, involves the unsettling story of a public figure who took advantage of the people under him and paid dearly for it.
And said, "Can I ask you something?" And I said, "Yes." And he said, "Can I in front of you in your dressing room?"
I mean, at least he asked, right? But he's still weird though.
Louis
like,
C.K. is a famous comedian, known for his edgy and candid humor, mixed with constant references to intimate relations and self-pleasure. Jokes about doing stuff to oneself were extremely common in every Louis C.K. stand-up show, leading to
I wonder why.
About how these comedic
I wonder fucking why.
Personal experiences.
Like now I know when I see a guy in the West Side Highway off in plain daylight, that's not a homeless guy, that's a married man right there. He's got nowhere to go.
In one bit, he explains about not being able to find a private place in his house to do stuff without getting interrupted. So he would decide to do it in the streets where people could see him. Other times, he would call himself a prisoner of his own perversions. For many years, his fans believed that Louis couldn't possibly be as perverted as the jokes he actually told. But in November of 2017, the New York Times released an
I mean, everything starts off with a joke, you know. Everything starts with the fucking joke.
Article proving that Louis was exactly the man he portrayed on stage. The story begins in 2002. Dana Min Goodman and Julia Wolof, a comedy duo from Chicago, had just landed the biggest opportunity of their career, a chance to perform at the United States Comedy Arts Festival in Aspen, Colorado. And Louis was also at the event. And after the show was over, he would invite them to hang out in his hotel room. Considering that he was a comedian both Dana and Julia had admired for a long time, they immediately accepted the invitation without hesitation. But as soon
oh my god, you looked up to this nigga, bruh, and this nigga about to ask you if he can masturbate to you, bro. You know how crazy that is? Like, they watched up they grew up watching him, you know what I mean? Like, and then they're gonna get traumatized by the same motherfucker they were inspired by, bro.
As they sat down in his room, still dressed in their winter jackets and hats, Louis would ask if he could take out his stuff and do stuff to him in front of them. Believing he was joking, Dana and Julia laughed it off. But then Louis proceeded to take off all of his clothes.
Okay, that's crazy.
And start doing stuff to himself. The two women claimed they were so horrified that they held onto each other, screaming and laughing in shock, before immediately exiting the room after he was done. Dana and Julia would later consider reporting Louis to the police, but eventually decided against it since they didn't know whether his actions were criminal or not. But the most important part
it's criminal like shit.
Is that Dana and Julia aren't the only ones with this kind of story.
It's definitely criminal, bro.
Back in 2003, actress and comedian Abby Schachner reached out to Louis with an invitation to one of her shows. But while they were talking on the phone, Abby claims that Louis would slowly shift the conversation from professional to personal, telling her that he'd seen photos of her on her boyfriend's desk and showering her.
What the fuck? Yo, what do you mean? She got a whole lot of boyfriend and you doing this shit, bro?
But he wouldn't stop there.
What
According to Abby, Louis would suddenly start talking about his intimate fantasies, breathing heavily and speaking softly. And it was at that point that she realized he was doing stuff to himself on the other end of the phone. Later in 2005, Louis would also approach another comedian named Rebecca Corey while filming a television pilot, asking if she could follow her to his dressing room so he could do stuff in front of her. Angry and completely shocked, Rebecca would obviously decline the invitation, reminding Louis that he had a daughter and a pregnant wife at home. Stories of the incident were spread around the set in whispers, and Rebecca reported Louis to the producers, who offered her the chance to shut down the shooting and end the show right here, but she decided not to, so the case was just swept under the rug. The New York Times article also details the story of another victim who chose to remain anonymous.
To be fair though, he asked, right? Like, you know what I'm saying? I mean, except for that one time when he just stripped naked, you know what I mean? But like,
This time it's the late 90s, and the fifth victim, who we'll call Courtney, is working in production at the Chris Rock show where Lewis was
this nigga just horny as fuck,
the
though.
writer and producer. And just like he did with other women, Lewis would repeatedly ask her to watch him do stuff to himself in the office during work hours. But before these 5 women even decided to call him out, Lewis seemed to have recognized the gravity of his actions, because in 2009, 6 years after his infamous call with Abby, he would send her an apology note on Facebook saying,
"Last time I talked to you ended in sordid fashion. That was a bad time in my life, and I'm sorry. I remember thinking what a repulsive person I was being by responding the way that I did."
Although no screenshot of the text was provided, the New York Times confirmed it was real, and Abby would even accept the apology. Rebecca Corey would receive her own apology in 2015.
Don't tell me he accepted the apology and then fucking went back to doing that shit, bro.
It was an email from Lewis saying he owed her a
very, very late apology.
But just because he apologized privately wouldn't mean that all of the victims were willing to let it go. As soon as the article was released, Lewis' career would take a complete dive. Other comedians would start to distance themselves from him, and his new film, I Love You Daddy, would get cancelled. And Netflix would also put out a statement announcing that they would no longer be producing a second stand-up special. This was in addition to losing his deal with HBO and FX.
He lost everything.
Productions. In the midst of the backlash, Lewis would release a statement through the New York Times, acknowledging that all the stories about him were actually true, while also offering his sincere apologies.
At the time, I said to myself,
I mean, hey, I can appreciate someone who can recognize their faults and they learn from it.
What I did was okay, because I never showed a woman my stuff without asking first, which is also true. But what I learned later in life, too late, is that when you have the power over another person, asking them to look at stuff isn't a question. I've been remorseful of my actions, and I've tried to learn from them and run from them. Now I'm aware of the extent of the impact of my actions. I learned yesterday about the extent to which I left these women who admired me, feeling bad about themselves and cautious around other men who would have never put them in that position. I wish I had reacted to their admiration of me by being a good example to them as a man, and giving them some guidance as a comedian, including because I admired their work. I've spent my long and lucky career talking and saying anything I want. I will now step back and take a long time to listen.
Unlike most other celebrities who got exposed during the #MeToo movement, Lewis appears to have bounced back from the whole controversy and would go on to build an even more successful career than he had before the drama. What comes next, however, is an explosive scandal involving almost every single female celebrity in Hollywood.
Hackers broke into their accounts, stole nude pictures, and then leaked them onto the internet.
What? The
It's August
fappening.
31st, 2014.
What the fuck do you mean the fappening, bro?
36-year-old Ryan Collins is sitting in front of his computer inside his home in Lancaster, Philadelphia, staring at thousands of explicit pictures of some of the most famous celebrities in the world. Rihanna, Jennifer Lawrence, Hilary Duff, and more. This was a project he's been working on for over 2 years, and it was now time to unleash one of the biggest celebrity leaks in internet history. The story begins in 2012. Ryan, a computer technician and IT support specialist, would create fake password reset emails designed to look like it came from legitimate internet service providers, using spoofed servers like email.protection308@icloud.com and more. He would then spend the next 2 years sending these phishing emails to thousands of victims, warning them that their Apple or Google accounts had been compromised, and asking them to provide their usernames and passwords on a fake landing page, which are then forwarded to his personal database. Once he's able to log into these email and iCloud accounts, he immediately gains access to the victim's private information, which included explicit pictures and videos. Through this carefully planned scheme, Ryan managed to infiltrate 50 iCloud accounts and 72 Gmail accounts, most of which belong to female celebrities. While Ryan's working on his own pet project, former high school teacher Christopher Brandon from Virginia was also crafting phishing emails similar to Ryan's. First, he tested out on a couple of students and teachers, and they fall for it, giving him the confidence to proceed with the plan. Phase 1. Forward the phishing email to a database of email addresses he'd acquired over the dark web. Phase 2. Correct the security questions by simply going through the social media accounts of the victims, where they've most likely mentioned the name of their first dog, their first teacher, or their first nickname. And just like that, access granted. Christopher was able to creep into the email addresses of over 200 victims using this same method, stealing private information.
This nigga was fiending, like, bro had all this fucking free time.
Sensitive photographs that were never supposed to see the light of day. Then there's Edward Mayajic, the 28-year-old from Chicago with little to no professional hacking skills, who also managed to illegally infiltrate over 300 Apple iCloud and Gmail accounts using the same exact phishing method. And between April of 2013 to August of 2014, 2 other hackers from Chicago, 32-year-old Emilio Herrera and 26-year-old George Carafano, were also sending the same kind of phishing emails to the same demographic of female celebrities, obtaining their usernames and passwords to illegally access their iCloud and Gmail accounts. Neither of these 5 hackers ever met in real life. They never communicated, and none of them even knew the other person existed. But coincidentally, they all came up with the same plan at the same time: hack into the phones and computers of female celebrities and obtain as many explicit pictures.
Yo, what the fuck, bro? They did that shit at the same time. We live in a matrix, bro. Ain't no fucking way.
Them as possible. The hackers also exploited a vulnerability in Apple's Find My Phone system, which allowed them to repeatedly try different passwords in a targeted brute force attack. This way, they could easily avoid triggering the security system designed to lock users out after entering multiple wrong passwords. And at this point, all the hackers were doing was stockpiling these illegally obtained pictures and videos. That was until one of them decided to take things to a whole new level. On August 26, 2014, a post appears on the 4chan's image board and an IB, which is a forum for leaked explicit content, claiming that users had obtained high-value videos and pictures. And later that day, another user on the board would announce that he was trading celebrity.
Bro, imagine like being a celebrity, woman or man, and they just start exploding. Like you wake up one day and there's just nude like pictures of you on the internet, bro. Like that's insane,
pictures
bro.
and ripping iClouds. This was basically a dog whistle for anyone interested in buying these hacked photographs. But while this user was cashing in on his loot, one of the other hackers would decide to post it for free. On August 31st, a 4chan user would release explicit photographs of over 100 female celebrities on the forum. This included big names like Jennifer Lawrence, Kate Upton, Rihanna, Kim Kardashian, Selena Gomez, Vanessa Hudgens, and Victoria Justice. And a few hours later, Jennifer Lawrence and Kate Upton's private pictures would appear in their individual subreddits, while Kirsten Dunst was posted in the r/celebrity subreddit, to which a user named Exilion Mean Street then comments saying,
"I have dubbed this leak the Fappening."
Not long after, a redditor named
what the fuck, y'all Reddit niggas is weird,
John
right?
SmackJohn would create a subreddit for the leak, asking members to submit any of the pictures found in the wild. The subreddit The Fappening would end up getting over 50,000 members within the first 10 hours, making it the fastest growing subreddit
50,000
at the time. A group of 4chan users also launched the #Leak4JLaw on Twitter, encouraging female users to post topless pictures of them.
Y'all niggas is horny, bro.
With Jennifer Lawrence. And surprisingly, some internet users actually fell for it. On the other hand, the reaction from the celebrities was varied. While some came out to condemn the incident, others actually completely denied the authenticity of the pictures being shared. Jennifer Lawrence would issue a statement through her spokesperson, calling the leak a flagrant violation of privacy and threatening to prosecute anyone who spreads the images online. Her lawyers also sent letters to several adult sites, demanding that they take down the pictures or face legal consequences. Reacting to her own leaks, Mary Winstead would post 2 tweets, blaming both the hackers responsible for stealing the pictures and the people distributing them on the internet.
To those of you looking,
yeah, bro, y'all was, you know, a bunch of simp, corny, incel ass niggas. They feeding for that shit, bro. They gonna be.
The pictures I took with my husband years ago in the privacy of our home. Hope you feel great about yourselves. Knowing those pictures were deleted long ago, I can only imagine the creepy effort that went into this. Feeling for everyone who got hacked.
Olympic gymnast Michaela Moroni also posted a tweet claiming that any leaked pictures of them were fake. But following the day, her lawyer would put out a statement confirming that not only were the leaks real, but they were actually taken when she wasn't 18 yet, meaning anyone who downloaded the pictures had just committed a felony. After
oh my god,
seeing the amount of negative attention the subreddit was receiving.
Why the fuck you got pictures of yourself like with your fucking shit out underage, bro? What the fuck is you doing?
Online, members decided to donate to the Prostate Cancer Foundation as a token of gratitude to Jennifer Lawrence, since the actress had donated to prostate cancer research in the past. And in just 24 hours, the subreddit The Fappening would become the top donor of the foundation, and even the Prostate Cancer Foundation would release an official statement on September 2nd, saying,
"A Reddit user directed other Reddit users to make a donation to the Prostate Cancer Foundation without the foundation's knowledge. We would never condone raising funds for cancer research in this manner. Out of respect for everyone involved and in keeping with our own standards, we are returning all donations that resulted from this post."
They also tried to donate to water.org, an organization dedicated to providing aid to developing countries with poor access to safe drinking water and sanitation. But a Business Insider report on September 3rd would reveal that water.org also shut down the charity page. So
Bro, what the fuck is wrong with these niggas? So wait, they sold the images, they built up money and everything, and then they're just posting it, bro? They're just donating it? Like, what the fuck?
The Redditors couldn't donate. And about a week after the Fappening was created, Reddit would finally decide to ban it after the pressure from the public, which immediately resulted in a massive backlash from users, forcing Reddit admin Alien to release a long statement on r/announcements, explaining the rationale behind the ban.
A very scummy thing happened this past Sunday. A number of very private and personal photos were stolen and spread across the internet. The fact that these photos belong to celebrities...
Yeah, like, this is people's privacy, bro. Like, y'all don't need to know. The fact that niggas are getting mad about this is fucking insane. It makes me sick to my fucking stomach. I want to puke it, lick it up, and puke it out again.
interest in them by orders of
this has got to be super embarrassing.
They were any less harmful or deplorable. If the same thing happened to anyone you hold dear, it would make you sick to your stomach with grief and anger.
I know, you fucking moron. So why the fuck are you getting mad?
On Reddit. As more people became aware of them, we started getting a huge amount of traffic, which broke the site in several ways. The same afternoon, we held an emergency meeting to figure out what we were going to do.
We know why niggas was hyped for that shit, bruh. You know why. You know why. Them niggas horny, bro.
About the situation. Things were going pretty crazy in the moment, with many folks out for the weekend and the site struggling to stay afloat. We had some immediate issues we had to address. First, the amount of traffic hitting this content was breaking the site in various ways. Second, we were already getting DMCA and takedown notices by the owners of these photos. Third, if we were to remove anything on the site, whether it be for technical, legal, or ethical obligations, it would likely result in a backlash where things kept getting posted over and over again, thwarting our efforts and possibly making the situation worse.
Alien also revealed that the traffic on r/fappening was so overwhelming, he had to break the subreddit a few times to prevent the site from total collapse, leading to the creation of more splinter subreddits. But when they found out that some of the pictures showed of Michaela Maroni when she was not of age, they had no choice but to bring down the entire subreddit. But while all of the
yeah, that's insane, bro. Why are y'all doing that, bro?
This was happening, some 4chan users would start spreading the rumors that a software engineer named Brian Hammade was the hacker behind the leak, after he tried to sell pictures of Jennifer Lawrence for $100 in Bitcoin. Brian had previously claimed that he was in possession of 13 pictures of Jennifer, 4 of which were explicit in nature. But after realizing how much trouble he'd gotten himself into, he immediately backtracked, revealing that he was only trying to make a quick buck off the controversy, and that the pictures he was trying to sell weren't real. As for the actual hackers, the FBI would immediately kickstart an investigation into the leak. And since most of the pictures were taken from the victims'
that guy, he changed his mind about selling it. Okay.
Cloud accounts, Apple would also announce that it had been investigating whether there was an actual security breach.
My boy has a little bit of humanity in him, okay?
Of the iCloud service, or if it was simply a phishing campaign. And Apple would later come out with a statement saying,
after more than 40 hours of investigation, discovered that certain celebrity accounts were compromised by a very targeted attack on usernames, passwords, and security questions. None of the cases we've investigated has resulted from any breach in any of the Apple systems, including iCloud or Find My iPhone.
By October 2014, the FBI was able to crack the source of the hacking attack to an IP address linked to Emilio Herrera's home in Chicago. He was the first of the 5 hackers to be arrested, and it would take another 2 years before the rest were found. March 15, 2016, Ryan Collins is arrested in his home in Lancaster, Pennsylvania. The following day, he agrees to plead guilty to 1 count of unauthorized access to a protected computer to obtain information. Although he's been charged in Los Angeles, the parties involved in the case would agree to transfer the case to Harrisburg in the Middle District of Pennsylvania for his guilty plea and sentencing. But even though court documents showed that investigators couldn't uncover any evidence linking Ryan to any actual leaks, or that he shared or uploaded information he obtained, he was still sentenced to 18 months in prison in October of 2016. Then there's Edward, who also pleaded—
I hope he learned his fucking lesson.
—guilty to a felony violation to the Computer Fraud Act in August of 2016. And although Edward was also charged in Los Angeles, his case would be transferred to the Northern District of Illinois. On January 24, 2017, he would receive a sentence of 9 months in prison, in addition to a $5,700 restitution to cover the therapy services of one of his victims. Emilio Herrera would also plead guilty to the same charges in October 2017, although he never leaked or shared any of the pictures and videos he obtained. A bit less than a year later, Emilio was sentenced to 16 months in prison, with George Garofano also entering a guilty plea deal the following month. He was sentenced to 8 months in prison in August 2018. By October, Christopher Brannon would become the 5th and final
They gave him a deal of a lifetime. They like, fuck it, we'll just take the year and a half instead of 5 years.
Suspect to be convicted in relation to the happening incident. And just like the others, Christopher pleaded guilty to aggravated identity theft and unauthorized access to over 200 protected computers, which included his celebrity victims, his sister-in-law, who wasn't of age, teachers, and
huh? Wait, hold on. Whoa.
Happening incident. And just like the others, Christopher pleaded guilty to aggravated identity theft and unauthorized access to over 200 protected computers, which included his celebrity victims, his sister-in-law, who wasn't of
What the fuck?
age, teachers, and students at the school.
Underage sister-in-law? You're crazy, bro.
Before he was exposed. And he was sentenced to 34 months in prison.
Oh, yeah,
bro. As this was, the next one is even more unsettling since the victims weren't of age at all.
The sole motivation was to inflict pain on another, and the journey to that. It was all about the complete and total power and control over another person.
The most prolific
Born in
predator.
Manchester, England, to an upper middle-class family, Matthew Falder enjoyed a privilege.
It's always like the more wealthier people that go into like the pedo stuff.
Upbringing in the small town of—
That's not true, but like I don't know. They be the most freakiest ones,
for
bruh.
Cheshire. As a child, he was considered exceptionally brilliant and would go on to obtain both master's and doctoral degrees in seismic oceanography at the University of Cambridge. He was well-liked, extroverted, and generally considered a good person. But behind this mask, Matthew was hiding a secret that would eventually earn him the title the most prolific offender in Britain. It's 2007, Cambridge University.
Bro.
Matthew begins a streak of criminal activities by setting up secret cameras in the bathroom he shared with his fellow students, recording their vulnerable moments without their consent. Although Matthew didn't get caught at the time, he would decide to confess this crime to one of the female housemates. But instead of reporting him to the authorities, she simply laughed it off, indirectly giving him the confidence
She laughed it off.
to take his depraved actions even further. And so later in
Bro, what?
2009, Matthew would begin posing as a female artist called Liz on Facebook and Gumtree, targeting young people, advertising babysitting and pet sitting services. And he would offer
oh my god, oh my god,
these innocent people advertising their services up to £4,000 for their explicit pictures, claiming that it was part of his therapy to sketch people in charcoal. But as soon as he had those pictures,
charcoal,
Matthew would start blackmailing these victims, forcing them to film themselves doing the most humiliating tasks imaginable, while threatening to send the pictures to their friends and families if they refused. One of these victims was just at the time, and they would end up sending 200 pictures out of fear that he was going to send them to her mother if she didn't comply. Matthew would also infiltrate online spaces dedicated to younger people suffering from eating disorders, posing as a teenage girl, and he actually tricked a vulnerable 15-year-old into becoming his girlfriend. Later in a
I can't.
disturbing confession he posted, Matthew would describe how badly he planned to hurt the girl, saying,
I'm thinking of just betraying her as harshly as I can to see how much I can mentally mess her up. I think there's even a bit of chance of...
Oh my fucking god, bro. This nigga is sick, bro. Why have I never what?
her leaving this earth.
Matthew's plan was to be as cruel as possible, pushing his victim to the brink of mental collapse. It got so bad that 4 of the people he talked to tried to self-check out, including a girl in foster care who was told her disabled brother would be taken away from her if she didn't keep sending him pictures. One time, Matthew even forced her to pose with a sign that said,
I look after my disabled brother, and I'm now...
Bro, this nigga literally took advantage of little kids, bro. Nigga moving like Epstein,
being
bro.
forced to do other stuff.
Other victims were forced to record themselves licking the floors of public bathrooms, drinking
my god,
toilet water, eating sanitary products, or whatever sadistic demands Matthew wanted. And whenever any of the victims threatened to leave this earth, Matthew would inform them that he would simply release all of their explicit images all over the internet. He would also upload this kind of stuff on hardcore websites, a forum for other people like himself. And Matthew was so prolific on the site that he even earned a VIP status due to the sheer amount of content he distributed under the username 66devil. And
oh yeah, he a devil.
Aside from the pictures and videos he received from his own victims, Matthew would also post disturbing images of smaller humans being tortured. And in one instance, he would pressure one of his victims into doing non-consensual and inappropriate things to a 2-year-old. He also shared a
oh my god, oh my god, oh my god. Bro is Epstein level.
Tutorial video on how to engage in inappropriate relations with these protected groups, as well as step-by-step instructions on how to do other disturbing things. Another disturbing post from Matthew contains a story about how he met one of his blackmail victims for intimacy in a remote location and told the person to tie themselves to a tree, lock the bindings, and throw away the key to ensure that they would pass away in a painful death. He also suggested a twisted game in which a curl
god, oh my 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 god, bro.
Get your ass on.
Yo, wait, so he
iron would be used and only turned off if they answered a question correctly. Matthew managed to stay under the radar for many years, and he would constantly taunt his victims about how he would never be exposed. Thanks to
that nigga got a creepy smile too, bro.
Like sophisticated Tor software, which rendered his internet traffic completely anonymous, allowing him to access the dark web freely. But his downfall would begin in April of 2015, where he made a post on a forum asking for ideas on how to hurt his daughter during a period he described as Hell Week.
How to hurt his daughter during a Hell Week.
This post alone would trigger an international manhunt involving several agencies, like the National Crime Agency, the US Department of Homeland Security, Europol, Australian Federal Police, New Zealand Police, and the Israeli Police. And
Israel, really? Israel was helping? Okay, bro. So where is this, like, where is this right here in our current life right now here in America? Like, where is this? Why is Donald Trump walking around when he's fucking allegedly guilty, bro? Like, what the fuck?
The intelligence gathered by these agencies would eventually lead to a flat in Birmingham where Fowler lived alone. To confirm he was really the one behind the accounts, undercover cops followed him around, recording him with secret cameras and gathering even more evidence. And then on July 21st, 2017, NCA officers raided his office at the Birmingham University, where he worked as a researcher and lecturer, and placed him under arrest for the harassment and exploitation of several individuals through intimidation and manipulation. Matthew would try to act confused as the investigators interrogated him, as he genuinely believed he would never be caught.
The offences that I've arrested you on suspicion of being involved in.
Yep. Yeah, them niggas found
blackmail, causing or inciting to engage in activity.
Damn.
Indecent images.
Sounds like the rap sheet from hell.
After executing a search warrant at
sounds like the rap sheet of hell. I mean, well, that's what you fucking made, bro.
His apartment, the officers seized all of his devices, where they found details of between 45 to 200 victims, many of whom weren't adults, and all of whom had been practically enslaved to him for years.
We sent pictures of your blackmail victims to the parents?
It took over 30 minutes to read out all of his charges at the Birmingham Crown Court, which even he described as a rap sheet from hell. Fast forward to October 16th, 2017, and Matthew will plead guilty to 137 offenses committed against 46 victims.
And bro, he really thought like he was gonna get away with this shit.
In February of 2018, he was finally sentenced to 32 years in prison, in addition to 6 years on an extended license after his release. While speaking to the press after Matthew's conviction, Matt Sutton, one of the officers in charge of the investigation, would make this remark, saying,
"In more than 30 years of law enforcement, I've never come across an offender whose sole motivation was to inflict such profound anguish and pain. Matthew Falder reveled in it. I've also never known such an extremely complex investigation with an offender who was technologically savvy and was able to stay hidden in the darkest recesses of the dark web."
You know, where is this effort with the Epstein files? I'm just wondering. You know what I mean? Because it's like, it's kind of fucking ridiculous, you know. I'd really like it if we could investigate the Epstein files, you know what I'm saying, and just unredact everything.
This investigation represents a watershed moment. Falder is not alone, so we will continue to develop and deliver our capabilities nationally for the whole law enforcement system to stop offenders like him from wrecking innocent lives.
Birmingham University would also later release a statement denouncing Matthew, while Cambridge University announced they were considering revoking his master's and doctorate degrees. As for the victims, they were never publicly identified, although many of them spoke to the media about how their experience with Matthew had completely damaged their lives in ways that cannot be reversed.
It was really hard. I didn't want to go to school then. I didn't want to stay at home because they knew where I lived. At school, I wasn't talking to my friends or thinking about what they were saying. I was just checking my phone to see if there was another message. I couldn't concentrate on anything. I couldn't talk to my family because I felt ashamed of what I was doing. I didn't want to talk to anyone. I didn't want to go out with my friends because he might be there. I didn't feel safe anywhere. Even if he was standing next to me in the street, I wouldn't recognize him. That's what was scary, not knowing who it was or when they might get bored and send pictures to all of my friends anyway.
But even after he was locked behind bars, Matthew kept fighting to reduce the sentence, and surprisingly, he succeeded. On October 16th, 2018, the Court of Appeal reduced the sentence to 25 years and an extended license of 8 years. But what comes next is a case so horrifying it shook an entire country to its core.
They call everything or data and equate the people who feed them their as heroes.
It's horrifying it shook an entire country to its core.
They call everything or data and equate the people who feed them their as heroes.
What?
It's July 2019. Two student journalists, Wang Ji and Park Ji-han, are working on a school project for the Korea Internet Journalism Contest, an annual event organized by the Korean Press Foundation to test the investigative skills of young journalists by undertaking projects focused on social issues. Under the codename Team Flame, the two decide to investigate the rising spy cam epidemic in South Korea, where women of all ages had their privacy violated by people who plant hidden cameras in public bathrooms.
That is insane, bro.
Motels and changing rooms.
I'm not gonna lie, South Korea, they going through it right now, apparently. I don't know, bro.
Filming these,
you know what I'm saying? Didn't like the president there like declare, or their ex-president declare like martial law, and then they got pissed off because of it, and so they pretty much like threw the nigga out of office, bro.
Women without their consent. What they didn't know, however, was that they were about to uncover one of the most disturbing cases of exploitation in the history of South Korea, all taking place on a platform known as the Nth Room.
We found the Nth Room through AV Snoop on Google. It was a blog run by a user called Watchman, where we found the link to the Gotham Room.
It all starts in February of 2019, when two friends, 24-year-old Moon Young-hook, a student of architecture at Hankyoung University in Ansung, who also goes by God, and 25-year-old An Sing-jin, create 8 Telegram rooms of horror.
That boy call him God.
Known as the Nth Room,
fuck
where
is
younger
that?
people were being tortured and taken advantage of to entertain the members. Each room contained 3 to 4 victims, and between 300 to 700 members, each of whom had paid God an access fee of 10,000 won, which is about $6. To locate new victims, God scoured several social media platforms, specifically Twitter, where many of his potential targets often posted explicit pictures of themselves or specific body parts without showing their face. He would then send them a DM saying,
"Hey, I think your picture was uploaded on this site, you should report it."
But once the victim clicked on this malicious link, it would open a pop-up window where they would be required to enter their Twitter username and password along with some other private information, which would then be forwarded to God. Once this was done, God would then proceed to the second phase of the operation, telling the girls that he's actually a police officer investigating them for sharing illegal content, since those kinds of pictures are practically illegal in South Korea. However, if the victims wanted to stop the investigation, all they had to do was send him more explicit pictures of themselves, but with their face showing along with other private information. At this point, many of them would refuse to comply, and in response, God would threaten to release the explicit pictures on the internet and forward them to their friends, families, and employers, all of whom he'd now identified after getting access to their social media profiles. Out of fear of public shame, most of the girls would then comply, and from that moment on, they would become his slaves, each assigned to a specific group where they would be subject subject to every horror imaginable.
Yeah, these people are fucking evil, bruh. Oh, man. We went from street gooner to, like, you know, nationwide gooner.
By both
like,
God
what the
God
fuck?
and the members of this community. Around the same period, another 38-year-old man known as Junmo or Watchman also created a Telegram chat room known as Gotham. This was sort of a marketplace where operators of online torture chambers like the Nth Room could advertise their communities. And with over 4,000 members, the Gotham Room had everything from explicit content involving younger people to recordings of forced intimacy and even content involving women being maltreated. Although no content was uploaded in the Gotham Room itself. It was here that most of the Nth Room members discovered the community. Once inside, the paying members could force the victims to perform any disturbing tasks they desired, from doing stuff to themselves while looking into the camera to drinking from the toilet in the men's room. For an extra fee, God would also give out the addresses of these girls so the Nth Room members could visit them in real life and do stuff to them, often recording the whole thing so they could post it on.
Oh my god, bro. Now this is an Epstein level threat. Like this is like Epstein level threat. You know what I'm saying?
On the platform again. But by July of 2019, information about the Nth Room would start leaking to the public, leading to the investigation by the team of student journalists I mentioned earlier. Working hand in hand with the Hangare, one of the largest newspapers in Korea, Team Flame infiltrated the Nth Rooms, witnessing firsthand the horrific treatment the victims were being subjected to, and immediately reporting the group to Telegram. But once God actually found out that the chat had been infiltrated, he would instantly shut it down instantly, moving the members and victims to a new room where the torture could—
That boy look like that boy. Oh my god, bruh. He be biting on his lip, chewing on his lip and shit all the time and shit, bro. He be chewing on his fucking lips all the time, bro. Oh my gosh, bro. I don't know. This nigga just so fucking cooked.
The chat had been infiltrated, he would instantly shut it down instantly, moving the members and victims to a new room where the torture could then continue. And God seemed unstoppable, especially since none of the victims were willing to come forward out of fear that he would release their humiliating private videos to the public. But this wouldn't last forever. On August 2019, God would make a post in the Gotham Room containing two major announcements that completely changed the course of the story. The first one was that all the 8 rooms were now free to access, as God was no longer interested in the 10,000 won fee. And secondly, he would be retiring soon and shutting down all the rooms, except for one which would be handed over to one of the Nth Room operators.
Yep, that's it. That nigga said, I'm retired, nigga. I'm done with this shit, bro.
Named Kelly.
That's crazy.
God mysteriously just disappeared. Kelly would try to keep the community alive, but by September 2019, the police actually finally caught up with him, and a quick search of his computer revealed nearly 10,000 pieces of illegal explicit content, many of which included younger people. And Kelly also made over $20,000 from selling 2,500 images. However, the shocking part of the story was that Kelly was sentenced to just 1 year in jail, in addition to hours of offender training and a 3-year ban from public employment. The police claimed that the reason he received such a light sentence was that he cooperated with them, revealing vital information about the inner workings of the Nth Room. And with Kelly out of the picture, the Watchman also decided to shut down the Gotham Room altogether. But it didn't take long for the police to identify and arrest him as well. His trial began in October 2019 when he was charged with operating an illegal site and distributing over 10,000 pieces of illegal explicit material. At first, the prosecution demanded a sentence of 3 years and 6 months in prison, but with the level of public outrage surrounding the case, they would eventually increase the recommended sentence to 10 years and 6 months. And fast forward to November 16th, 2020, and Watchman would be sentenced to 7 years in prison, in addition to 120 hours of intimate violent treatment programs and a 10-year ban from working in facilities related to younger people and disabled individuals. But he actually didn't go down without a fight. Watchman actually filed for an appeal on the ground of factual error and unfair sentence. But despite that, his sentence would be upheld. As for God himself, he would stay under the radar for a while, until May 9th, 2020, when he would be finally caught. For privacy reasons, the police actually decided to not reveal his identity to the public. But after a petition demanding his public shaming gained over 2 million signatures, they had no choice but to unmask the real face behind God, identifying him as Moon Young-wook. For those who knew him personally, this revelation was extremely shocking, as they described him as a
very quiet student who was almost an outsider because he didn't participate in any extracurricular activities and didn't have any close friends.
But while God was gone from the internet in August 2019, another degenerate individual would be inspired to continue his legacy, creating a whole new Telegram chat room that completely surpassed the Nth Room, both in cruelty and fame.
Why the fuck you got that neck brace? What happened to that nigga?
Other very extremely graphic videos which really took away the dignity of human life.
The doctor's
It begins in July 2019, a month before God shut down the NTH room. 25-year-old Cho Ji-bin had been lurking within the Telegram chat rooms for months, fascinated by God's horrific treatment of his victims. On the outside, Cho Ji-bin was considered a well-adjusted individual.
Oh, so he's a connoisseur of his content.
Served in the military, volunteered at a rehabilitation center for disabled smaller humans, and was always trying to give back to the community. But on the side, he was a sadistic psychopath, dreaming of wielding the same power God had on his victims. But while God was wholly motivated by the sick pleasure he received from the torture and humiliation retaliation, Cho Joo-bin knew he could make a lot of money from selling the type of content God forced his victims to make. So he decided to create his own Telegram chat rooms called the Doctor's Room. To gather his own set of victims, Cho Joo-bin would post high-value part-time job ads on Twitter, targeting vulnerable teenagers and young adults going through financial struggles. But before they could apply to the job, Cho Joo-bin would ask the victims for their resident registration card, account number, and contact information. This would then be used to gather every other information Cho Joo-bin could use to blackmail his victims: personal addresses, names, and phone numbers of their friends and families, and even details about their school or jobs. The next phase would be introducing the victim to Foxspam, a fake online persona Cho Joo-bin created to initiate the applicants into the exploitation process. He would start with a simple request, asking them to send 5 pictures of their body with their face shown and 10 photos if they don't want to show their face. At this point, the applicants aren't yet victims. So to convince them to send explicit pictures, Cho Joo-bin would offer them 1.6 million won, or about $1,600, which he claims he would immediately deposit into their bank account as soon as they sent the pictures. But he wouldn't stop there. After receiving these kinds of pictures, Cho Joo-bin would begin to demand more and more from the victims, asking them to take pictures in seductive poses, turn their eyes to the back of their heads, or in some extreme cases, he would even go as far as forcing them to drink toilet water, take pictures of themselves urinating, or do stuff like lick the toilet drain. And because he had
what the fuck is this, bro?
So much information about them and could simply send all of these pictures to their families and friends, for example.
If they figured all this shit out, imagine the Epstein files. Imagine the Epstein files, bro. Like, that shit is insane, bro. If the Epstein files came out, bro, that shit gonna be wild, bro. You know what I'm saying? Because that's like a government, you know, scale kind of like operation that was going on there. Like, that was some crazy shit. You know what I mean? But I mean, shit.
He was able to pressure his victims even more. For example, he was able to convince them into writing the word slave on their bodies permanently without a pen, if you get what I'm saying, as a mark of their ownership. And again, when any of the victims refused, he would simply threaten to expose the explicit and degrading content to their families. Many of the victims were too scared to leave, but for those who deleted their accounts and attempted to disappear from his radar, the consequences were even more severe, as Cho Joo-bin would then release their location to his 3 rooms, encouraging his members to locate the victims and commit mass violence on.
Oh my god, oh my god.
Because many of the victims were now involved in what was basically commercial intimacy, which is illegal in Korea, they couldn't simply go to the authorities for help either. And in the words of one of those victims,
I can't talk, even if I go to the police station. I've never been investigated, but I don't know where to start and how to speak. That kind of part-time job is not a legal job, so I'm afraid of that too. I can't catch the culprit, and I think it will be only more popular because the work gets bigger.
Cho Joo-bin would end up accumulating a list of 74 victims. 16 of them weren't even adults, but were all still convinced to make all kinds.
Bro, they were children, bro. It's just like, bro, like, people are so sadistic.
Of degrading content for the pleasure of his community. The price of joining the Doctor's Room wasn't cheap either, as some rooms would cost up to 1 million won, or $845. Eventually running to 1.5 million won, or $1,200 in November of 2019, as the demand for this kind of content continued to increase. By the time Cho Joo-bin would be exposed, the Doctor's Room had a combined total of 15,000 paying members, all managed by 13 different operators. However, his reign of terror would eventually come to an end in March of 2020, when the Korean police finally located the man behind the infamous Doctor's Room, and after searching his apartment, investigators found around $106,000, which he earned from trading these extremely disturbing videos. He was immediately placed under arrest, bringing an end to this once and for all. At first, the plan was to actually keep his identity hidden from the public, but after over 2.6 million people signed a petition for him to be named and shamed, the Doctor would finally be brought out on March 23rd, where he would utter a very chilling statement, thanking the police
for putting a break to the life of a devil that couldn't be stopped.
On November 20th, 2020, Cho Joo-bin was sentenced to 40 years in prison for violating laws.
Bro, what happened to his neck?
Smaller humans from exploitation and operating a criminal ring to profit from producing and selling videos depicting violence against women and people not of age. But the story simply doesn't end here either. In October of 2022, Cho Joo-bin would be indicated again with charges of exploiting a younger person and forcing her to film it. Cho Joo-bin would actually deny these allegations, claiming that he and the victim were in a relationship at the time, but the court simply wouldn't buy it. And after this new case concluded,
that nigga thought he was gonna get out of that shit. That boy thought, nah, he thought he was him. Hey man, I was not expecting the Gooner situation to go from street level to government level to Epstein level. You know what I'm saying? And I mean, shit. I mean, imagine all of like if you look at the entire world that we live on, planet Earth. I mean, being a fucking alien, like, I mean, why would you even want to come here? You know what I mean? Like, holy shit, this is nasty. But oh my gosh, bro, this is weird, bro. It's weird, man. It's a weird world we live in, bro. I mean, like, the gooning community is crazy, though. I'm not gonna lie, bro. Does the Epstein files, does that count as like the gooning community? I'm guessing. I mean, I mean, at that point, that's just prostitute, you know what I'm saying? All that crazy shit these weirdo motherfuckers in our government be doing. I don't know, bruh. If the average person can pull this off, imagine like a whole ass government, bro. Like, that's just crazy. But that's all I gotta say for this video, man. This was a long reaction, man. This video getting long. But I hope you have a good breakfast, a good dinner, good night, man. I love y'all, man. Peace.